everybody. This is the 9th and best episode of the Hashcast, and I have some cool guests tonight, and that includes Steven this time. I always tease you, Steven, but you're one of my cool guests. So, Steven, how are you doing, man?
I'm very good. It only took like 5 appearances until you started treating me like a human.
I know, like an actual guest. And I have first-timer, Hoeg. Rick Hoeg, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
No problem. It's always a pleasure to get people that I've known on the internet for a long time and then seeing their face and hearing their voice. It's pretty cool. So, Steven, you've been on here for a couple times. Let's say people are tuning in today for the first time. Who are you? What do you do?
My name's Steven. I'm a games artist. I work in VR at the moment at Clouded Games, and I make cool stuff, I guess. This is a really bad way to describe what I do.
Yeah, and you're also very handsome. How about you, Hoeg? Who are you and what do you do?
Well, I'm Rick Hoeg. I'm a business lawyer in and around Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I think at this point, I'm probably best known for being one of the primary sponsors of the Easy Allies and for doing Help Us Out Hoeg segments where we talk about corporate law every couple weeks or every month.
Yeah. So if you're wondering, like, why does he have a business lawyer at his side? Well, Hoeg is also you just started a YouTube channel, didn't you?
Oh, I did, yeah.
So what do you do? What do you do there?
Well, you know, I do a lot of writing, legal writing on my blog that has 8, 9, 10 people over the course of 6 months read it. And in December, I saw a little movie you might have heard of. If you haven't, I'm sorry. It's called The Last Jedi. Mm-hmm. And I came out of that movie with certain thoughts about what I had just seen. And I wrote a pretty long blog entry, 4,000, 5,000 words. And I was fortunate enough that went a little viral and taught me about corners of the internet that I hadn't seen before. And then the other day I was sitting there without anything to do. I was between client meetings or what have you, and I said, I wonder how hard it is to cut a video. So my YouTube channel at this point is essentially a lot of my radio appearances. I'm regularly talking about Michigan sports in Ann Arbor on some radio stations. And then these essays, essentially, that are done Ken Burns style with moving slideshows and things of right now Star Wars: The Last Jedi, and I did another one on Avengers.
Cool.
So you can check those out. They're about 20 minutes, and I'm pretty happy with them for first efforts.
Awesome. Well, welcome to the world of content creation. We also worked together once, Hoeg, on an article.
We did.
Fiduciary Duty.
Yeah, that's right. One of those Help Us Out Hoeg segments was about teaching the allies about how corporations think about the business of video games. And in that was the concept of being fiduciaries for investors' assets. And then you got in contact with me and said, hey, let's shop that around as an article. Yeah. And I said, as long as you do all the work, sounds good to me.
Yeah, and then nobody wanted to publish it. That was a little bit...
Hey, you win some, you lose some.
That's true. But they just didn't understand. It was too complicated for all these people. So tonight... we have a couple of things I want to talk about. It's Deadpool week. Actually, it was last week, but people hopefully have seen it by now. Except I know you haven't seen it.
I haven't.
But it does matter because you don't care, apparently.
Nope, I'm good.
That's good. It's Solo week. I haven't gotten tickets yet. It came out yesterday, I think. I'm going to go see it next week. And I want to talk about the Battlefield 5 story that happened this week. And
sure.
If we have time left, we'll talk a little bit about the PS4 because they just mentioned it was in their swan song apparently. But no new PlayStation for another 3 years, if we have to believe the machine. And maybe some E3 predictions because Steven, my friend, you're going to E3 for the first time in your life.
Yeah, E3 and also the States for the first time. So yeah.
Awesome. Have you ever been in the area, Hoeg, E3 or any of the shows, PAX or?
I've had the worst experience at this, actually. My wife is from the Los Angeles area, and so I have been around E3 as it happens and not been anywhere near Staples Center or wherever else where are they? I don't even know.
That must hurt a little bit. I'm missing out today, so Steven has to go by himself, unfortunately. I wish I would have been there with you, Steven. So,
don't let me know.
Hoeg has a Deadpool background with a big red wall. Steven, did you see Deadpool yet? Deadpool
Yes,
2?
I saw Deadpool.
Okay,
Yeah.
I've seen it too. So, like I said, Hope doesn't care about the Deadpool.
Nope, spoil away. Go
Oh, yeah, are we talking spoilers?
Yeah, we can go
I
full
feel
spoilers.
bad spoiling for someone who hasn't seen it. Like, can I ask why you don't care, Hoeg?
Oh, why I don't care? Yeah, sure, absolutely. First of all, I say, as I said, I made an essay about Last Jedi. I was pretty mean to it. I never begrudge anybody liking anything. I want everybody to like whatever it is that they like. Deadpool 1 just kind of bounced off me. Humor is very idiosyncratic, and it just didn't work for me. So I'll probably check out Deadpool 2 when it hits like digital. I buy most of my movies digital, but to go to the theater, probably not.
No.
There's some jokes that are like hinging on not knowing at all what's coming, and I feel bad spoiling that for you because it's some of the best jokes in the movie.
I think I might have been spoiled already a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
But no, I think that's absolutely fine. I'll check it out later, and that's fine. Spoil away.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we will. Because, first let's talk about the movie, and then I have something I want to ask Hope. We already had this conversation on Twitter in DMs, but we're going to have it on the show as well. So what are your first impressions? What did you like? What did you not like? Deadpool 2?
I really enjoyed it. I watched the first movie right before I went to see the second movie. It was my second time seeing the first movie. I hadn't watched it since the cinema.
Yeah.
It's funny. I almost got the exact same takeaway as the first movie, so I really enjoyed it. I had no desire to like see it again or like anything like that. It didn't like blow my mind, but it's still like an excellent. What it's trying to do, it does very well, and I was very entertained.
Yeah, I was entertained as well. I saw the first movie, and then I did went to see it again right away, and I did not like it as much the second time. I don't know. Like, I think when you take the surprise element out of it, it was like, it's funny, but maybe it's just too close to each other.
You saw it immediately again?
Yeah, I think it's the same week. Because I
wouldn't have done that.
I had like shitty seats the first time, and I went to see it again, and then for better seats. But I like the second one. I had a good time with two of my friends. I died like 3 times in the theater because I had a really bad cough, and every time I laughed, like I went into like a coughing fit. So everybody was
that
hating me. But I thought it was fun. There's some good jokes. I love the Domino character. Like, she was so awesome.
Domino was fantastic.
Yeah, and I tried to get Katie here. She was in episode 2, Pikachu did it, because she's like a carbon copy of Domino, what she looks like. So it would have been perfect to have her, but she was so busy tonight. But there's one thing in the movie, and that's what I want to talk about with Hoeg. So, the full spoilers. In the trailer, we see pretty much the X-Force. We see him in action. We see him fighting. And then the movie comes, and they all die, like, in minutes. Like, the whole scene that they filmed did not happen. And that was...
They intentionally faked the trailer footage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They intentionally faked it. And so I was watching it. I was a little bit confused. I was like, okay, maybe they come back because, you have Cable in this movie, and there's some time travel involved, so maybe they'll come back to redo the fight. Nope, it was just a joke for the trailer. And I read an interview with Terry Crews, how everything was so hilarious that they were doing that to mess with the fans. But then I was wondering, how close does this come to false advertising? When you deliberately make a trailer that's not like it didn't make it in the movie. No, you knew exactly what you were doing. So I was like, I'm gonna ask Hoeg, help me out, Hoeg. Like, how do they skirt the line on this one?
Sure. Yeah. No. And with the disclaimer that I'm not regularly making complaints to the FTC or otherwise dealing with false advertising statutes, and you shouldn't take your legal advice from the Hashcast.
No.
What I would say is no, they're probably not skirting the line on this. There's a couple reasons why. The first is that if you imagine somebody brought a claim on that kind of concept, that I saw something in the trailer and it wasn't in the movie and I'm disappointed and I didn't get my money's worth, then I think if you imagine the arbitrator or the judge that's looking at that claim, they would say, well, we anticipate that every member of the audience understands that these trailers are essentially works in progress, that they're not done in terms of what's happening. If you remember, Rogue One came out and it's got that scene with Jyn facing off against a TIE fighter, and that doesn't make its way into the movie. And you could say, I was disappointed I didn't get to see that face-off, but they changed the whole third act. So I think it's a similar concept with respect to Deadpool 2 here. There's a couple of other reasons why I think you'd have a problem with it. In particular, for the Deadpool franchise, they're making a joke, a meta joke, about expectations and about trailers and about marketing, and that's really their bread and butter. That's what they sell. So I think that they could also stand in front of any kind of FTC regulatory authority or a judge and say, no, that's part of what we're selling here is unexpected meta-based humor.
Yeah.
And people knew that when they were buying the ticket. And so I think we're okay. So artistic merit, really, as part of the argument. But the third and final thing is, if somebody came up to you and said, and called up Fox and said, hey, I really wanted to see the X-Force. I really am. Terry Crews is the only reason I was at this movie theater, and I wanted to see him knock some heads. And he didn't get a chance to do it. Then the proper move, which is not a legal move, it's a business move from Fox, is, oh, we're sorry about that. Let's refund your $6, your $10, your $15, whatever it is, and get you an autographed picture of Mr. Cruz or whatever it is. You make that go away without getting to the FTC, without getting before a tribunal.
Yeah. So I'm just to be clear, I'm not pissy about this at all. Like I thought it was.
No, I'm not accusing you of anything.
But because they specifically mentioned that it was like a setup, like they knew exactly what they were doing.
Sure. Intent.
There was. It was their intent to mislead and to take us by surprise, and it worked. Especially afterwards, right? Because you read the interview, like, oh my god, those bastards, they got me. Like, I thought it was fun. I thought it was very well done. But in the back of my mind, I was like, yeah, I'm not sure if that's like if I put the poster and. So,
it's not outside. Yeah. Sorry, no, it's not outside of what the whole film is selling anyway. Like there were examples of people suing whoever put out the movie Drive. Mm-hmm. The trailers of Drive were very misleading. Apparently, I haven't seen them. They were like it showed an action-packed thriller movie, and in Drive it's anything but that. And some woman actually sued on that. I don't know what happened with that case. So
a lot of lawyers out there willing to take lawsuits,
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, I could see it for if the tone or what's being sold is completely different. But as Rick said, like, it's not outside of the wheelhouse of what it's peddling to you in the first place. No. I don't think we can actually have grounds for an argument here.
No.
Yeah, and you've heard me talk about this with the allies, but it's all things in law are a spectrum. So bringing up intent is exactly the right thing to do. If you were representing the person that was decided to sue Fox on this basis, you'd say, hey, this is different than Rogue One changing its third act because they didn't know they were doing that at the time. Here, this was exactly the intent, was to deceive, and that's what the statute is designed to protect. So you'd have that argument. I just think it would be a loser. Now, I say the same thing to you as I say to any of my clients. You can't guess what a random judge or a random regulatory body is going to say in any given day. They might wake up on the wrong side of the bed on that day. Yeah. But overall, if I were to advise you on bringing this claim, I would say probably not a great idea. In general, it's not a good idea to sue movie studios. They have a lot of money and a lot of lawyers.
Yeah. Well, and movie tickets here in Canada are like $40,000, so it is worth maybe trying to get your money back at least. But I thought it was funny, and I think they leave a lot of room in the end there. With they do some time travel moves. They change everything in the movie, so we'll see what's on the Blu-ray with some extended footage.
Sure,
but that's just the stuff I think about when I get really bored. But so no, we'll talk again, Hoeg, when you actually go watch the movie on digital and then keep the trailers out.
I'll check it out. I will.
Yeah. But overall, I think it was a good movie. It's fun. It's definitely worth your money just to go see it if you're into that kind of stuff. If Deadpool does work for you, yeah, I like it. Steven, anything you want to add on Deadpool further?
No, I mean, like I said, it was still great. I overall, if I had to compare, I enjoyed the first one more than the second one.
Mm-hmm. Why was that? I'm just curious.
The second one was almost like they were trying to cram in too much at the cost of, say, executing a singular thing. There's one joke that is literally used about 4 times throughout the whole movie, which is too much for one joke, the dubstep joke.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't believe it kept coming back. I was like, okay, this wasn't really funny the first time you landed it. Oh, you're making the exact same joke again 20 minutes later. Oh my gosh, it's back 10 minutes later. wow, it's like one of the final jokes. It really. And it wasn't like they were referencing it before. They just kept making the dubstep joke. It was bizarre. So there were some jokes that were very sort of hit and miss. Whereas because I only watched the first movie twice, and with massive gaps in between, I really enjoyed the first movie way more the second time I saw it. I thought there was a lot more sort of edge and wit to it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a headspace movie as well. Depends on who you're seeing it with, what kind of mood you're in. But yeah, it might be worth it. You might get something out of it eventually if you.
Well, it sounds like I need to watch the first one a second time, so I'll give that a try first.
I think it's funny that Steven has this complete different experience for me, that he actually enjoyed it more the second time, and I was like, eh. But maybe if I watch it now for the second time, I'm like, oh yeah, that was pretty well done. I do want to touch on, like, we went over the trailers a bit, but the marketing for Deadpool is always just fantastic. Like, even if you like or do not like the movie, like, that is on another level. Like, I think the favorite thing I've seen was that they put DVD covers with from different movies with just Deadpool in Walmart, I think it was, or Best Buy. Like, I don't even know how you begin to pull that off.
They're wizards. They're geniuses.
Yeah. Steven, just one quick question for you, because the movie is mostly filmed in Vancouver. When you were watching it, did you see anything? Does it take you out of the movie, or is that just cool?
I don't know, I'm such a fan of where I live that it's just cool, but it is ridiculous how blatantly the whole thing is just Vancouver. Yeah. It's like, yeah.
Because even I noticed some things, and I've only been there like 5-6 times.
Yeah, no, it's literally like all just like this one block over here. It's hilarious. Yeah.
So Canadian Deadpool. Well, that's good. So the other big movie that's came out Friday. If you're listening to this on Monday, Solo. I at this point have not seen it. Did you manage to see it last night, or you, Hoeg?
Oh no, that's again another one I'll probably catch on digital.
Ooh.
Yeah, Last Jedi broke me a little bit there, so we're gonna give it a little rest.
Yeah, and so I'm not super excited for Solo either. How about you, Steven?
I gotta disagree on Last Jedi. I really enjoyed Last Jedi.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah.
But the thing is, I'm coming from as a kid, I was the biggest Star Wars fan, like just huge. The prequels came out and permanently killed that. Like, I can never love or care that much for Star Wars anymore. Yeah. And so every new film, I'm like, oh, this was actually decent. Like, I have no expectations, no investments. Like, they can't disappoint me. They can't be worse than the prequels. So I'm always very pleasantly surprised whenever a new movie comes out. But I mean, in spite of that, Solo, I just like I'll watch it one day when I rent it, but I've got no rush to go watch that in the cinema.
Yeah, no. I mean, my friend just texted me saying, "You want to go see it on Friday?" I'm like, yeah, I guess. First of all, because like I don't think Han Solo is like super interesting to get the whole story from. I think it's going to be a cool enough movie. I'm 100% sure with their $250 million, they made something cool like to watch. But I never had the need to see what happened there. I kind of prefer the mystery, maybe. But, I'll go see it. But it's not doing strong, what I've heard, especially not overseas. I've heard you had some numbers. Or did you saw something, Hoeg?
Oh, did I? Oh, well, I've been following it all day. So, Steve, I had the same experience to you with the prequels. I survived the prequels. I enjoy the politics there. I know I'm the one guy. I was broken by Last Jedi, not the prequel. So now I have no expectations. I'm actually sure Solo is a fine movie. Ron Howard does his thing. Apollo 13 is great, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, looking at the numbers today, just because I was interested as to whether The Last Jedi did affect those grosses, whether 5 months between movies affects those grosses, and those kinds of things. The numbers are terrible. In all honesty, we're about 3 weeks out from Disney and the various trades projecting 180, 190 million for the 4-day, and now it looks like it's going to be about 105, and that's domestic. overseas is much, much worse than anybody thought. I think the last I saw was the first 2 days overseas was 11 million total, all countries. So it's looking like it's going to have 100 million overseas, period. Okay. So it's going to struggle to get to something like 450 million worldwide. So that's obviously a problem for them because they had to film it twice. Nobody really knows what that budget finished at. No. I think somebody said 250 plus the other day. So I saw another article that said maybe 300 or 300 plus. So it's possible at the end of the day this could actually be not just a bad profit but a loss, which would be really interesting and certainly a good signal that they need to take 18 months off, which is fortunate.
Say if this movie doesn't do well, do you think it's going to cause them to pump the brakes?
Well, so I have a theory, and that's that in particular the Rian Johnson trilogy was announced in order to shore up what they thought would be a somewhat controversial film. And I strongly suspect, not that there'll be a big breakup or anything like that, but that in a little while, the Rian Johnson will say that he's too busy and that they really enjoyed working with him, but they're going to do it. They're going to do something different, and that the Game of Thrones folks that they hired to do their series are going to take over the Star Wars franchise and are going to hopefully plot something that's all connected and runs for a series of movies rather than bouncing between directors and that kind of thing. So that's what I suspect will happen. I don't think there'll be anything dramatic. I don't think Kathleen Kennedy's in danger of losing her job anytime soon. But I do think they're going to change course a little bit. I don't know if you saw on Friday, there was a Boba Fett movie concept leaked for... Yeah, exactly. I don't think that'll ever happen. I think that's designed in order to give us something to talk about other than solo numbers. So that's a long way out, obviously. It could still happen. You don't know. But I suspect they're going to move away from what is currently their anthology strategy, which are these kinds of prequel bio things, Boba Fett, Obi-Wan, Solo, Rogue One, and just kind of take a step back and reimagine. So I think Episode 9 comes out, and then maybe you see a short pause. But, what do I know? Lucasfilm hasn't been doing what I want them to do for a little while now, so we'll see.
What I noticed is that they have 9 more movies planned or whatever, a ridiculous amount. I don't know. It feels a bit much to me. After I think those plans were all made after Force Awakens. So maybe now, if Solo gets a somewhat colder reception, they're gonna go, okay, maybe we don't need 12 new movies. Maybe we'll just do 6 movies. What I've seen from Solo from the trailers, I'm not sure if it needed to be a Star Wars franchise movie. I think it could have been a cool space adventure. So I wonder if that adds or it takes away from how the movie is perceived, because putting the Star Wars brand on it raises the expectations significantly, I'd say. We'll see. I'll go see it next week, but so
I'm sure it's perfectly good. I'm sure it's perfectly competent. Ron Howard's a good director. I do wonder whether or not it wouldn't have been a good idea to just let Lord and Miller give us their Guardians of the Galaxy improvisational 21 Jump Street movie just to see what it looked like. I think, if anything, there's a certain lack of excitement for Solo because it looks like a perfectly 7 out of 10 movie, and it's in between Infinity War and Jurassic World 2 and Incredibles 2 and Deadpool 2 and everything else.
And I was sometimes okay, what makes it a Star Wars universe movie? And for me, that is lightsabers and the Force. But Rogue One had neither of that until the very, very end, when Darth Vader started to fuck some shit up. So I'm not sure if it needs it. We'll see. But yeah,
Rogue One was my favorite Star Wars.
I liked it. I liked the movie. What I did not like was that you knew it was a prequel, because you know exactly what's going to happen. But it was still a good story, and I fucking hated a robot.
How did you hate the robot? Oh, I love the robot.
Okay, the robot was fun.
Yeah, and toothpick and everything.
I think they put too much of the robot in it. I think the lightheartedness in the suicide mission was sometimes too much for me personally. But that's just me.
Rogue One's an interesting one for me because I left the theater there thinking it was okay. And then when I went back and watched it a couple more times, I really, really took to it. I think it could have used a little bigger dash of, this is a tragic story. This is the story of how these people are going to meet their end and how they got there. But when you kind of think of it that way, with that kind of Greek chorus at the start, which is this is how these people die and what they die for, I think it plays as a much more powerful movie.
Yeah, I've only seen it once. I do want to see that one again, but that was my first. I was like, but because I think it came at a time where that was just the thing to do, like that everything had to have a punchline, like every 2 sentences, like Thor Ragnarok, same thing, and there were a couple other movies around that time that just didn't want to be serious or couldn't take it. Like there was this constant need for one liner. I was like, okay, guys, we get it, but let's get serious with this movie. You're all gonna die.
That's the standard for Hollywood big budget movies, though.
Yeah, I know, but there was a definite trend of that for like a year or two, and I guess it's just maybe too much exposure to that kind of stuff.
I think you're thinking of Last Jedi. No, I'm just...
I rewatched all the movies recently, and Return of the Jedi is also a terrible movie. I'm just gonna put it out there.
Oh no.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this podcast just became a 3-hour long screed. I'll take the throne room scenes over almost anything in the trilogy, but I'll leave it at that.
The throne room scene is pretty sweet. I gotta say, that's a great movie. But yeah. Anyways, so we'll see. I've seen some first reactions on Twitter from our mutual followers and followees, I guess. And some people really like it, and others just...
Yeah, a lot of positive thoughts out there.
So we'll see. Yeah.
I'm yet to see negative thoughts from anyone in my circle, so that's interesting.
Yeah. I have seen some negatives, but mostly positives, I'd say.
Yeah. So we'll see. I think it's just going to be a cool movie. Whatever. We'll see what it is. So Solo movie number 10. We'll see where that leads up to. Are you guys excited for mystery movie number 9?
Episode 9?
Yeah, episode 9. Yeah, because I'm not.
I was gonna say I think I've already tipped my hand here.
Yeah. How would you see it? Are you
the secret to enjoying anything I've discovered is have zero investment. So have it murdered for you at a young age, and then go in and you'll love everything.
Yeah. I was definitely super excited for Last Jedi after Force Awakens. Like, I gotta know where this goes, and now I'm like, we'll see where it goes. But it's probably enough Star Wars before I get the whole internet on my back.
I like how we talked about more Star Wars than we did about Deadpool.
Yeah, I know. Well,
that's my fault.
But Deadpool is just a movie. Like, you watch the movie, it's a fun movie. You go home, and there's no deeper thought required.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which is great because it's exactly what it wants to be, I think. Speaking of getting the whole internet on your back, Battlefield 5 has a woman on the cover, and it did not go over well. I'm zooming in on Steven doing a massive facepalm here.
Oh man, embarrassing! It's absolutely.
Go ahead, Steven. Go off.
Oh jeez. Okay, last time I ended up on 8 separate forums on 4chan with them complaining about me. But so let's see. I don't know, it's just pathetic. I had a thought, I think I tweeted this out, where like if all those people complaining actually showed that they have a spine and went through with their boycott, that game would have the best multiplayer community that ever existed. Like, I want them all to boycott this game. Like, please do. It's more evidence of how bad things are, the status quo of relationship between devs and audience, and the sort of audience among themselves, and inclusivity, and keep the sort of walled garden bullshit that seems to be propagated all the time. Yeah. It's disheartening. I'm so sick of. I feel like all I do is complain about this crap constantly, and nothing changes. I don't know what the answer is to improving this, other than devs making this content despite all that, which I think is great.
You know, it would be cool, Stephen, if you do like a YouTube show about games and have a joke on your name in the title. That would be amazing.
Wow, funny you mentioned that.
That would be great. I am honestly starting to think like how much of this internet outrage is performance art. Like, I don't know what's worse.
I feel like that's a coping mechanism. I feel like that's a coping because
Maybe.
the sad reality is it's not performance art. It's these people have been raised in a world with the greatest connectivity mankind has ever been exposed to,
Mm-hmm.
simultaneously with the shroud of unparalleled anonymity that no one was given an instruction manual on how to use or how to act, or so they just figured it out themselves, and we've got this toxic, awful, gross way of interacting with each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, that was a terrible. I promise you, English is my first language. That was a terrible sentence.
You're good. You're good. How about you, Hoeg? Did you have any thoughts on this?
Well, yeah, I have a number of thoughts. I mean, I think the first thing I would say is, and some of this actually dovetails with the Last Jedi discussions that I've gotten into in the past, which is that I think that first of all, I'm not thrilled with the way Battlefield 5 was announced. I'm not thrilled with the way it looks, and because of that, I think that like Last Jedi, I get my positions kind of get mushed together with positions that I'm not too thrilled with, with folks that I'm not too thrilled with. And so, I thought that the announcement from a marketing standpoint was pretty terrible. I thought they started talking about things that you couldn't conceptualize visually. I thought 27 minutes of concept art was a bad idea.
That's so easy.
And then, Electronic Arts, finger on the pulse right there.
Yeah.
And then the trailer came out, and I had certain issues with it. I play these games. I'm going to get Battlefield 5. I think they make good games. But I play these games in general to try to be a little bit immersed. And I saw a lot of what I would describe as kind of arcade coloration and a lot of over explosions, and it felt very Bad Company to me. And that's fine. That's a great tone. But it wasn't the tone I was expecting for Battlefield Returns to World War II. And so I think at least some folks are having a similar reaction, and that gets kind of pushed into, oh my Lord, there's a woman on the cover. And that always bugs me, because I feel like you can't say something that says, hey, I'm not positive about that art direction. I'm not positive about that level of bombast, without now being part of the negative brigade, which on this podcast, it sounds like I'm only negative about everything. I like a lot of stuff.
No, but that is an interesting point, though, because it's fair that you do not like Battlefield 5 or whatever it looks like, and like you said,
just for right now.
Yeah, but I had the exact same experience with Last Jedi, where I also did not super love it, but every time I mentioned it, it was like, it's because there's women in it. Oh, not all. Like, erased my favorite character of all the Star Warses ever. But it's fine to not like it. But I think the outlash. What I always find super amusing is the people who always complain about outrage culture are the ones who set themselves on fire if anything ever happens.
So true.
Yeah. So, but I just wanted to read a tweet from Oscar Gabrielson, who is the GM for DICE.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you've read this, but I liked this. What they did there. I was a little worried in the beginning because this dude is not verified on Twitter. And I'm not sure if you guys remember, there was a guy who claimed to be working for EA a couple of months ago, and when the whole Battlefront 2 fiasco happened, he posted something like, I've received like 39 death threats over the loot boxes, and then people started looking into him, and he didn't even work for EA. He was just a fake account. So when I saw this thread, I was like, I wonder if this is a real dude, but he's apparently a real dude. So Oscar Gabrielson, he says, it's been 2 days since the reveal of Battlefield 5, so I wanted to share some of the thoughts on the reaction so far. It seems we've created a lot of excitement and also some question on a lot of different topics. First, let me be clear about one thing. Player choice and female playable characters are here to stay. Like, boom. Like, that will shut that, well, it wouldn't shut up the conversation. But I like seeing that. To just come out in front of it saying, like, you can bitch all you want. This is not moving. Like, they didn't address your comments there. I hope that it's a little bit too much Bad Company, but maybe we'll get into that later.
I mean, they didn't really show the game yet, so I'm holding back judgment there. my initial reaction was not great.
Yeah. But Stephen, wow, just pronouncing your name, I almost died. As someone who works in the business, how good must it feel to just be allowed to say something like that?
I think it's fantastic. I think it brings up an interesting thought. These games are massive and need significant greenlighting and approval and have significant market research and all sorts of stuff. So it kind of gives me hope that this is where games are going, despite the massive part of the audience that will lose their heads over all this stuff. So maybe we're just seeing there's an expression for this, I can't think, it's like the loudest cry before they sort of vanish kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't know what the expression is, but I know what you mean.
The death cry or something of this toxicity. So, because clearly, like, millions goes into researching the market and what will be profitable and what will appeal to the most people. This is what we're getting, which means the sort of bro culture stuff is almost definitely on decline. Yay.
Yeah. So I was complaining about it as well on Twitter. Then someone, a PR guy that I know, mentioned, like, because I called them the squeaky wheel, and he mentioned, like, the squeaky wheel is smaller than you think it is. But they are enormously loud, and that's just the problem.
Yeah.
But I think you had a thought there, Hoeg.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a fair point. They're definitely researching these things. They definitely spend a lot of money. They definitely try to follow their fiduciary duties and trying to make the most money using their investors' resources. The caution that I would have on this is that I think that if I were to pick any company that I really said, I'm not sure they have the finger on the pulse of the customer base, I would probably point the finger at Electronic Arts. I think you saw a lot of their design and a lot of their marketing steps, particularly around microtransactions, but certainly in other areas that you saw in Battlefront 2, for instance, their newest Need for Speed, where they certainly researched those things before they implemented them. They certainly thought about what to put into those games, and they were certainly wrong. And so I think that there's no problem with what they're doing with people on the cover, with people involved in their games. I'm not sure whether that will bear out as, I don't know, I think, Stephen, you said that the dude bro culture is done. I don't know whether they're right on that or not. They might be trying to force the issue because it's important to the board, or because it's important to their CEO, or it's because it's important to DICE. And making DICE happy is as important in the long run as making customers in any specific game. So I think it'll be interesting to see whether there's any effect. I'll be honest with you, I don't think there will be, because I think that Battlefield is a unique product. I don't really think there's a direct competitor for what it does. And so I think that essentially EA has said, hey, we're a monopoly provider of this good, Battlefield, and we can force some change that we want to see.
Yeah. Wait, 2 points I want to address in that. You don't think you're sort of configuring two separate things, like the business revenue generating microtransaction stuff and the sort of art direction choice that DICE would make? Like,
I'm conflicted. Well, I think that, as you said, any big product goes through a lot of green lights. So I think that absolutely it's an artistic decision of DICE's, and this is what they want to do. But I think the business folks, the board, the revenue generating people that are examining these things look at it and say, all right, we won't take a hit on this, or we'll take a minor hit on this, but we'll change the market so that it's fine for Battlefield 6. And it's something that we want to do. It's either something culturally as a corporation we want to do, but I think certainly the bean counters have to look at it and say, this probably doesn't hurt us too bad, we don't think. But just the fact that they spent millions on that research and they spent hundreds of thousands on that person's salary, they're very smart people, Harvard business degrees, whatever it is, those people can be wrong too. And that's important for kind of the internet to understand, that these corporations are not infallible in any respect, and that they might be right, they might be wrong. So I'm responding to that because I saw on Twitter, I was interacting with someone else that had a similar line of argument, which is, hey, and he's shouting down some toxic dude. EA's thought about this more than you have, and I'm sure that they're right. And I said, well, yeah, they absolutely have, but this would be the first time in history that the argument has ever been corporations never make mistakes, because that obviously isn't the case.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. Well, this is another one. I think Battlefield is gonna be fine.
Sure.
But at the same time, like, Battlefront did not do well enough, I think, for them. And if I looked at the rest of the press conference, they seem to trying to make amends. Like, there's not going to be loot boxes. a little room for interpretation there, but it's mostly going to be cosmetic. So they have a lot to prove, I think, with this game. But I think they're going in hard with saying like, no, this is our artistic choice to, and it like they put a woman on the cover, and it's really just a cover. Like it's not like anything more than that. It's just for other
It's
than
not even the first time they've done it.
No.
Like in a Battlefield.
exactly. So, like I think it was Medal of Honor.
No, Battlefield 1
Oh, Battlefield
actually
1?
had
Okay.
one of the last expansions was a Russian woman on the cover.
Yeah, and it's still going to come down to choice, right? Because you get to pick your own character, you can do whatever you want with it. So it's, I don't know. I don't
If
think
I could just get them to not have a teal and orange person in the center of a screen looking forward, so I could actually discern between the multiple battlefields, I would appreciate that.
Yeah, that'll be a good start. That'll be a good start. I've never played a Battlefield game ever.
What?
No,
Really?
I know.
Battlefield is my jam.
Really?
Like, that
They're
is
a lot of fun.
I
the
always
one
want to
game I
play
go
it.
back to every year. Yeah.
I just know I'm not good at it, so I would enjoy it for like a week, and then I would get outclassed in everything. Really,
You can play with me. My Battlefield experience is primarily spawn, die, repeat for a half hour. That's a good time to get on chat.
I can do that, but then there's like 62 other people that are gonna be mad at us.
No, not at all.
No?
It's not like I used to play both Call of Duty and Battlefield, and then I dropped off of Call of Duty because Call of Duty became you individually have to be amazing.
Yeah.
And you'll have your nails pulled from your fingers if you are not.
Yeah.
Whereas Battlefield, you squad up with your friends, you don't even hear from the rest of your team. You can strategize your own stuff and still feel like a congealed unit sort of making a difference, but it's way more relaxed in my opinion. Way more welcome.
Yeah, it's not that I don't have anything against it. I didn't have the right friends. I think like none of my real life besties are playing these kind of games. So it would always be just me solo dropping into a game like this, and it's just not the same. Like now, I can probably squad up with a pretty solid friends list on PSN. So maybe I'll try that. So it would be good.
Good.
Yeah,
It's a good.
I'll buy it unless EA wants to send me a copy.
There you go.
Just put it out there.
Get into the skill game.
That's right. But that would be good. So we'll see for Battlefield 5. So I kind of want to make a segue into this. Battlefield 5, you think it's going to be the last Battlefield on the current gen of consoles, Stephen?
If it's 3 years off? No, I don't think so.
When did one come out? 2 years ago?
A year ago, I think. No, maybe 2 years ago. 2 years ago because they finished all the DLC stuff.
It was 1, Battlefront 2, now 5.
Let me just look it up. I think you're right about 2 years ago, though.
Yeah, I think it was Battlefront last year.
Yeah, Battlefront was last year.
Yeah, so I think they got one more in them.
Yeah? You think it's going to be a Battlefront 6 or Battlefield 6, or is it going to be something else?
I'm gonna say it's gonna be a spin-off.
Spin-off, yeah.
Mostly just because I really want a Vietnam Battlefield, please.
And it's not in this. I just heard this today. I didn't know, but Rotterdam is going to be one of the theaters of war in Battlefield 5. And I'm actually quite interested in that because I used to live there, very close to that.
Interesting.
But has there never been a Vietnam Battlefield?
There has.
Okay.
There's been two. There was an actual Battlefield Vietnam, which was kind of like after Battlefield 2. And then there was a sort of expansion pack for Bad Company that was set in Vietnam.
Okay.
But I want like a whole hog, like let's do Vietnam in the Battlefield setting, please.
So Hoeg, you think they have one more?
Yeah, I do think they have one more. I think the next Battlefield will be 2 years from this fall, so that's 2020. And I think we're probably looking at a transition somewhere around there. So I think that'll be the last Battlefield on the PlayStation 4.
Okay. Yeah, I could see. I still think PS4 is like there was it's just if you need context for this, there was an interview with one of the head honchos, Sony, and they said like, okay, yes, the PS4 is kind of in its swan song right now, but we have at least 3 years, and that's what we're going to use the coming 3 years to develop the new thing. I think they're just straight up lying. And the reason why I think they're lying is like, yes, you have the PS Pro, and the PS Pro can definitely last for another 3 years. But you can't just assume that everybody has PS Pro. Like, if you have this base model PS4, then you still have a 7-year-old console by the end of next year. So I'm not sure, because I'm not sure if you guys remember, but the PS3 lasted, I think, 7 years as well. And everybody was complaining about it because it was just not keeping up anymore. I think current consoles do a little better. But if they are planning to make it a 10-year cycle, I think they're nuts.
I think it's doable. I mean, to me personally, it feels like yesterday that the PS4 came out, so I'm like weirdly way behind. But I don't know. I feel like consoles things are going to get more and more space as the technology becomes more and more ambiguous and all kind of the same. So 3 years would be like I was expecting sooner, but I'm relieved by hearing it's 3 years away. Like, yay, okay, great.
So the lawyer in me says, and I saw that statement too, and I remember parsing it when it came out, and I looked at it and said, well, I think they say they're going to support the PlayStation 4 for 3 more years, and I was thinking about how the last transition worked.
Interesting.
And I think that to me, I hear probably PlayStation 5 in fall of 2020.
Yeah.
And then there's another year in which you'll have those crossover game titles where we continue to support the console into the first year of the next console. So that's what I hear. I don't know that, first of all, things change, so who knows.
Yeah.
But if I had to bet, if I had to gun to my head,
Good bet.
it's fall of 2020.
Okay, so I agree with you, Hoeg. Here's my bet. PSX 2019, they're going to announce PS5 to launch 2020. And I was at the Shadow of the Tomb Raider reveal here in Montreal. I got invited. And I was talking to a hip-hop gamer. I'm not sure if you ever see this guy.
No.
Super nice dude. I didn't know the guy. I've only seen him in distance, but we were hanging out because it was a very small gathering there. And I was telling him this. I was like, okay, so the PSX 2019 announcement. He was like, it's interesting that you say that because I've heard from several people that PSX 2019 is the one you do not want to miss. So I feel super emboldened in my prediction that PSX 2019 is going to be the announcement of the PS5 and then launch fall 2020. That would be my guess too.
Sorry, it's just the re-announcement of Final Fantasy VII. They're just going to pull it out again.
I wasn't going to put that on the agenda, but now you got me started. Yeah.
That game's not happening. I'm sorry.
I totally agree with you. I was on a podcast with Cal G for Pen and Pixels.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh yeah, Final Fantasy VII." I'm like, I don't know why. I have no authority or any knowledge or anything, but my gut says that game is never happening.
That's my feeling. I don't think so.
I think it's going to happen, just not on PS4. Unless
you know what else is not happening? Resident Evil 2 is not happening either.
That's just not happening at all. But Stephen, like, I think last generation the gap between what PCs did and what consoles did was a lot bigger than it is now. But I am not a super PC guy. Like, I have one clearly. Ta-da. But how do you feel? Like, are we pushing the consoles? Is PC that much ahead of us right now? And even in the stuff you make yourself.
Oh, well, in VR, yeah, that's way ahead. But I mean, I don't think that's a problem. Like you'll always, if you're doing like multi-platform, you'll always be targeting consoles as like your base, which will be like your low-spec PC or something. And it's not necessarily gonna, like, people will and ah about that, but it doesn't actually. It's good to have a very accessible base, and that will allow more people to play and allow people to catch up. And sure, you could release like this generation's Crisis that'll be way ahead and not run on anything, but no one will get to play it. So.
Yeah, but I remember seeing Skyrim on the PS3 and like the PC, and it was just not comparable anymore.
Yep.
I didn't play the console versions of Skyrim.
No, it was terrible.
It's bad.
Yeah, I hate Skyrim.
If that was your only option, though, it's not that bad.
No, well, the game is bad. It's not in general.
You think the game's bad?
I fucking hate Skyrim.
How can you hate this like seminal fantasy RPG that has defined that genre of games? Even if you hate it, you have to acknowledge that it is around for a reason.
I know. I just don't understand.
That's like hating Grand Theft Auto.
Don't take over starting Grand Theft Auto. I don't really
It's a hot
enjoy the
take
game.
podcast.
I know it's always hot take. Listen, Steven, I played through Skyrim, and then it crashed on me. Or not even crashed on me. Like I just did a quest and it locked out the main quest, and I couldn't open a door because the quest. I was like, I'm like 40 hours in, and now I have to give up because I could not like reload an old save because it happened like 30 hours ago.
Yeah.
Like, fuck this game. I was
broken and buggy as hell, but still what it was something a milestone in gaming.
Yeah, I fully understand it. It's just I don't see it. I don't see the combat is garbage. Other than bow and arrow, maybe magic. I never really dabbed into magic. Like I love being a stealthy, roguey dude in Skyrim. Like I think that plays really well, but it's not.
But okay, what game around that time was doing that?
Fair enough. Like I don't think anything else, but we're still playing Skyrim. Like I still see people playing Skyrim. I'm like, okay, dude, it's like 2018 now. There's no need to be in love with Skyrim at this point.
Yeah.
They're gonna bring. Did it come out on the Switch yet? Is it out on the Switch?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, fuck. Who's gonna play it on the Switch? Anyway, Hoeg, I see you smirking. Like, how do you feel about Skyrim now that you have it on record?
So I tell you what, like all of the Elder Scrolls games, I've never really been enraptured with the lore there or the main quest lines. But what Skyrim did, what Oblivion did to some extent, is plop you down in a world and say, go have adventures. And I've always really liked that feel. I found that was similarly achieved in Witcher 3 and to some extent in Breath of the Wild, which are these games that say, go meet villagers, go do quests, go be an adventurer. And I've always liked that, the kind of just go be in your own D&D campaign and go explore an elven ruin. And I think Skyrim does achieve that. I agree with you on the combat, although I do think that the magic in the two hands can have a cool, visceral feel. I'm ready for another crack from Bethesda at that kind of thing, because Fallout 4 was not it for me.
You said it right. You can explore a elven room because there's one. There's just two. One goes left and the other one goes right, and it's the exact same dungeon.
But see, I'm constantly jumping between games anyway, so I got more games than I have time. So I pop in there and say, hey, that was fun, and then I move to the next thing. So I think the only thing I've beaten recently is God of War.
I didn't like that either.
Well, see, you're getting me in trouble. See, it's all my negative take. I did like God of War. I like the game.
Delete him, kick him from the call. What do you mean you didn't like God of War?
Okay, I'm just gonna sit back on this one.
All right. I'm getting off camera. So what I'll say about God of War is that the production values are off the charts. The gameplay is fantastic. The actual playing of the game, awesome. Love the combat. What I found lacking, I'm a narrative guy. I love the storytelling in video games and movies and books. I thought that it was a 30-hour prologue to a more interesting story. I thought
that's fair, yeah.
I thought that they were gearing up to show me something, and I really thought throughout the entire thing, and I think we didn't announce any spoilers for God of War, but I think that they were gearing up to take you to a certain place, and it really stopped before you got there. So I was kind of disappointed with that. I did love the world building. I did love having a little narrator guy around with you to tell you stories, to talk about the environments, and I thought that really worked. But at the end of the day, I thought it got a lot of leeway for what amounts to a very elaborate multi-pronged fetch quest for most of its running time because it was so gorgeous, because the world building was so good.
But you've just described all the things that make games good.
Well, I mean, I think...
you also just described, you harkened on it for being the first in a series?
I did not find... I really did feel like it was a prologue. I did not find it to be compelling. So when I started the game, I played it and I said, well, there's really not an inciting incident here. There's really not anything that's driving me forward. We have to get to this mountain. And so, I'm waiting for one to come. I'm waiting for one to come. 15 hours in, I'm like, all right, I think something's going to happen. You're kind of hearing notions of politics and whatnot. And I just felt like I was waiting, and then credits rolled. And then there's a teaser for when things probably happen. So I enjoyed my time. I do think that they made some really wise decisions in changing the combat and having it be, right down at ground level and having fun with the axe and some other combat tricks. But end of the day, I wasn't compelled to keep going other than the fact that people told me that it was a 10. The graphics were great. I was enjoying the world building. So I got to the end and said, man, that felt like it was very elongated for what limited amount of plot there was.
That's a look at Steven's face.
No, I just don't know how to address that without being like, what more do you want? like to take in the I don't want to speak in hyperbole, but like everything they did was done at the absolute perfect level you could ever hope for in an industry where it's almost impossible to get anything made, and never mind made well. Like, I don't know. Maybe just as a dev watching what they made, I was blown away by every second of that. Like,
I think that's fair. It's a great game. I would have given it, I think I put this on Twitter or wherever. It's an 8 out of 10 for me because I didn't feel that driving force. But every moment that I'm actually playing it as a game, it's fantastic. But as a story, I found it lacking.
Yeah. If gaming scores weren't completely broken, 8 out of 10 I would also give it an 8 out of 10. But everyone thinks that's like
it's
7.
Bad now.
Yeah,
Sure.
7 is average and 8 is like not good enough.
No. I very much enjoyed it. I'm glad I played it.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to God of War 2. It didn't reach what I thought it was heading towards in terms of storytelling.
Yeah. So God of War 2 is going to be PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5.
5.
Yeah.
Interesting.
4 or 5, maybe a crossover.
You think so?
I can see like a multi-gen.
Yeah, like the second one will be multi-gen, and then the third one will be all 5.
Because if they started working on it soon, that's going to be a 2-3 year project minimal.
The hope is always they cracked it, right?
Yeah.
They figured it out. These will come faster now, but I don't know if that ever pays off. Sometimes.
Yeah, but you're not going to leave 80 million PS4s without a game.
Well, Corey Balrog was saying, I always say his name wrong. I think I just said the Lord of the Rings creature.
Balrog.
Yeah.
Barlog.
What was it? Barlog.
Shall not pass.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to stick with Balrog. That's awesome. He was saying they accidentally wrote the next 2 games instead of the first one, and then they had to pare it back into the first game because everything they wrote was kind of what happens in the second game.
Yeah.
That's all already done, and like they know they have the plan for what they're going to do, and I'm excited.
Yeah, and I think they there's a lot of assets. Probably like you probably know this better than anyone, Stephen. Do you think they have a lot of stuff they can just reuse?
Well, I mean that goes with the multi-gen next hardware question, because if you are going up, then you are redoing everything.
Yeah.
If you're staying on, then you can use some stuff, but at the scale they're operating, everything's new. There's not much you can reuse other than say like the hero character.
Yeah. So that's for PlayStation. Like I still think 2020, but it could be 2021. How about Xbox? What do you think, Hoeg?
Well, I'm I have the 2 mid-gen upgrades. So out of the games that I play, I get all my multi-plats on the Xbox One X, and I think that's a fine system for right now, and it feels like it could last a good long time. But as you say, the mid-gens create a problem for the businesses, which is that their baselines can't hold that, and certainly the Xbox One is so significantly underpowered for what's being put out now that I think Xbox probably has a stronger push to want to upgrade faster. But they also released the X a year after the Pro, so they can't really turn on a dime on the people that spent that money. So they've kind of created a little bit of a sticky wicket for themselves. Like most things Microsoft, I have no idea how they'll handle it. I have no idea how they'll handle their first party. I have no idea what they're going to do in their hardware. I'm not sure they know.
No.
So I just let them do their thing and see what happens.
What do you think, Steven?
Oh man, I'm so out of the loop with Xbox. Like the previous generation with the 360 and PS3, Xbox was my jam. I couldn't believe how much I got out of my 360 versus my PS3, because the generation before that, the PS2 was the console that defined my life. So it's just weird seeing how like I haven't bothered to get the One X, whereas I bothered to get the Pro, PS4 Pro. My Xbox is a giant paperweight with it genuinely saddens me. And I was so out of the loop that I was like, oh wait, I wonder what exclusives Xbox has, and
So do we.
I'm flabbergasted at like how empty the first party lineup is, and it's really interesting. I'm wondering, are they aggressively? Because one thing I'll give Microsoft credit for is they think way ahead, and then they introduce that vision terribly and ensure that no one wants that vision until eventually that is the standard set by someone else.
Yeah.
So this play anywhere stuff they're doing with PC and Xbox and not really worrying about games being exclusive to the one console and all that stuff. I wonder if that's something they're going to really aggressively push weirdly that no one's really expecting right now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I honestly have no idea if they even want to stay in the market. I think they will, just because they kind of feel like they have to, maybe. But they're setting themselves up for a place where they don't really have to have like a brand new box, and maybe they'll go full. So I have no idea. I'm curious to see what they're gonna bring at E3. Like they gotta give it this year. If they don't give it this year, but every year we say this, well, they gotta give it. And Nintendo's so we'll see. But I'm very curious. Speaking of, I gotta talk about this. The controller they made. Did you guys hear about the?
They brought back the canned ham, right?
The what?
My brother and I, when we first got an original generation Xbox, we used to call that giant beefy controller the canned ham.
Oh.
Because it was just so enormous.
Yeah.
But they brought back a re-release of that, didn't they?
No, this is a special controller for people with disabilities.
That's okay. All right. Yes, no, I did hear about that.
Okay, so I think this is fantastic, and not just because it's fantastic on its own, but because my friend Steven Spawn from Able Gamers was a consultant on this. And I love how Xbox is just breaking the market open with this for a $99 controller, which is they have to be losing money on this.
That's what makes it awesome.
Yeah. So check it out, Hoeg. It's a fantastic product they're pushing out now. Making gaming for everybody. Yeah. Oh, you saw it? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it looks like it's got the 2 discs. It looks like an old Intellivision controller,
yes.
which
it kind of looks like the DJ Hero controller.
Yeah. No, that looks very cool.
Yeah, no. So I would be curious to see if Xbox is just doing more, like they have to be the new stuff now. But this is just such a. I still can't get over how cool of a thing it is that they just threw money in, lost money on. And now the others have to follow. They have.
Have you seen how it operates?
Who?
Have you seen how it operates? Have you seen any gameplay with it?
No, not
because
yet.
I'm curious how one-to-one with a normal controller it is, and how that would affect developers' target, because they have to target all the peripherals and stuff. So
it's fully, as I understand it, it's fully programmable.
Yeah.
So it can emulate what it needs to emulate in respect of the normal controller.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I wonder how limited to just Xbox it is. I wonder if Sony can just buy this and put different sticker on it, really. Because that would be even more fantastic. But maybe that's a little bit too much generosity on the Xbox side. But it would help. It would be fantastic for everybody involved, I think. So I really, really enjoyed it. But we'll see. Xbox. They will have to wait, I think, until at least 2020 before you come with something new. Because otherwise, people who bought like 2 Xboxes are going to get pissed off as hell. I think it's a little bit too much. With the Xbox One X, Xbox X. If they bring out an Xbox 2 now within the next 2 years, I'm not sure if it's going to go over well. But we'll see. It's interesting to I've been through almost every cycle of the consoles, but this last one I've been like way more plugged in to the industry as a whole. So it's interesting to see now how these things come and go. But you think you're gonna buy next generation, Steven? You buy everything.
It's obligatory. Yeah.
How about you, Hoeg?
Although, sorry,
I
think I probably shouldn't just say yeah, because if I look at this generation, I've turned on my Switch like 3 times, I've turned on my Xbox One like 3 times, I should probably be an adult and practice some restraint and not buy consoles until they release something that I really want to use them for.
Yeah. I turned on my Switch today. I bought it, and I was playing on my porch, and it was fantastic. But I've only played one game. It's Celeste, which I can play on any other console, and probably on my Vita if I wanted to.
I think I had my Switch, my Xbox, and my PlayStation 4 on today. So,
Nice.
yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah.
I'm definitely in for the next consoles. The one or two times where I've said to myself, "Oh, I'm probably not going to buy that," inevitably a week before launch, I say, "Oh, I should have reserved one."
Yeah.
So I just accept it at this point. But in all honesty, I bought the original Xbox One. Really didn't love it. Really didn't have fun with it. When I got the X, I just think that's a much more solid system, and I just in terms of brand goodwill, I feel more solid about the hardware they put out with that product.
Okay. Well, we're definitely not going to see new hardware at E3 this year. I think they were pretty clear about that. But we're going to see a bunch of other stuff. So, Steven, you're going to go to E3. What is your one biggest wish for E3 this year?
This is going to sound weird. I have I have barely even thought about E3 itself. I'm most excited about meeting people,
Who
all the people I've been talking on
most
Twitter.
excited to meet with?
I don't know, the Funhouse, maybe the Easy Allies guys.
Yeah.
I've been in talks with at least to meet up, so that would be cool.
That would be cool. How about you, Hoeg? What's your one E3 dream?
I don't. I think we talked earlier about expectations. I try not to set them too loftily. I am excited to see, especially since they're on this 6-month announcement kick, I'm excited to see what Bethesda announces at E3. I'm really hopeful that they've got a really exciting RPG project that they're going to announce that's going to release this fall. And that's what I'm most excited about hearing about.
Yeah, I think you can do a good bet on Bethesda because they didn't have super lots last year.
Wait a second, there's an unannounced Bethesda RPG?
No, so Bethesda in the last couple years when they've announced games at E3, they've mostly come out that fall.
Isn't that just Rage? Isn't Rage coming out? Oh no, that's next year.
Yeah, well, Rage was either leaked intentionally or not intentionally, and then that trailer came out. I'm not as excited about Rage.
Yeah, neither am I.
But certainly their main RPG group hasn't actually released anything in quite a while at this point. So I think the thought is maybe this year's the year. But last year, they announced Wolfenstein and Evil Within 2, and they were out within 4 months, and that was cool. So I think that kind of cadence is one of the most exciting things about what Nintendo and what Bethesda are doing. And I think you can actually look at what Sony released earlier this year and said, hey, we're not going to actually talk about new first-party games as one, yes, we're probably transitioning to PlayStation 5, but two, we've seen how the consumers are reacting to this kind of shorter hype cadence. Mm-hmm. And if you look at, hey, we've already announced these things that are 3 and 4 years out, at some point we were going to have to do a show or two where we didn't announce anything or we just checked in on those things in order to get to a year, in order to get to 6 months. And so my hope is that Sony is lowering its hype levels in order to do that shorter cadence.
I can guarantee you that Sony's not going to have a lot of hype this year. Like, if they're going to spend 20 minutes talking about Spider-Man, it's going to come out 2 months later, I'm going to fucking lose my shit. Because I haven't heard of it.
I want to see some Ghost of Tsushima.
I have nothing with that game.
Well, I don't think you can. It's just a rendered trailer right now, right? But Sucker Punch, I don't think they failed me, so I'm looking forward to it.
I don't know. I liked Infamous. It was the first game I bought on the PS4, but I can't say it was like a mind-blowing experience that I had. It was cool, absolutely.
I'm gonna have to slap you next time I see you. Jesus.
Hey, it was. I platinumed that game. I spent a lot of time with the game, but
I like Infamous. I admit more of my goodwill is from Sly Cooper.
Okay, maybe. We'll see. But my number one dream for E3 is Dragon's Dogma 2.
Oh, get out of here.
It's the best game.
I think I've seen your tweets on Dragon's Dogma.
Several. It's going to be the best. So that was good. We went through a lot of stuff. Hoeg, you don't know this, but Steven does. I always end my podcast on the segment Podcast and Shill, where I give you the chance to promote either yourself or whatever you want to promote.
Oh, sure.
And you're already a super sponsor on a slightly bigger podcast, but go ahead, man. The floor is yours.
Oh, sure. Well, in my introduction, I said that I am a business lawyer in Michigan. I have a firm called Hoeg Law. And in general, I tell people that if they're thinking about starting a business or otherwise looking at a contract that they don't understand the terms of, I was a big firm lawyer. I was a senior partner doing this thing for really large companies that everybody would recognize. And I left to help do that same thing for smaller companies and for individuals that maybe aren't as used to entering into those contracts. And so I'd be happy to help if I can. So I'm on the web at hoeglaw.com. And certainly you can reach out to me either by phone or email, and I'd be happy to help. Otherwise, I'm on Twitter. I'm on Twitter, and I'm always happy to chat about Star Wars. I think I brought up Star Wars in almost every segment today, so it's a pretty good record.
Good. How about you, Steven? Do you have anything to promote maybe this time?
No. Sorry, I don't really have anything to promote. I'm supposed, like you always give me shit for, I'm supposed to be watching my game development commentary series called Blomkamp, but I just haven't sat down to even start that.
Okay, so when you're going to E3, maybe we can do a meet and greet there for people, so they can meet you there. Maybe.
Yeah, well, I mean, they can just.
You're gonna have so
they
much
know
fun.
what I look like.
You're gonna have so much fun, Steven. I'm so jealous.
I'm really sad.
I'm so jealous.
I got a hotel like a block away from the convention center too.
Which hotel did you get?
Hotel. I don't know how to pronounce this. Figuera.
No, you're in the Fig.
Is that what it's called? The Fig?
Yeah,
okay.
That's like the hotel where everybody hangs out at night.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Fuck, I hate you.
That was accidental.
I hate you so much. Like, that hotel's been closed for 2 years, and that is the hotspot that all the industry people hang out at the lobby there when the show floor closed and everybody's gone to the parties. That's where they end, because it's apparently a great spot. But I've been 2 years now, and they were renovating that place, so I missed out on the Fig experience. And this year they're opening it up.
I'd like to say I planned all that, but I didn't.
Shit, you bastard. So I don't really have much to shill for either. Usually I shill for something else. What shall I shill for? You know what? I've been playing Celeste on my Switch. Everybody has already played this game, but if you haven't,
Strawberries Ahoy.
Yes, I love that game. It's just so much fun. It has so far justified the purchase of my Switch, even though I can get it on any other console. I'm pretty sure I put like 20-30 hours into the game already, and now I'm collecting every strawberry because the NPCs are throwing shade at me that my pie wasn't good enough, so now I'm going to prove them wrong, get all the goddamn strawberries.
So wait, when you play the Switch, are you using a Pro Controller?
No, I just play it only as a portable.
But your hands are huge, and those controllers are tiny.
I know, and I'm still super good.
The physics don't add up.
I know. I haven't bought a Pro Controller because I was mad that my Wii U controllers didn't work, even though it doesn't make any sense because it's not like I can expect that a previous console controller works on a new one. But I was still mad about it because I used my Wii U twice. But no,
I'll mail you my Pro Controller because I'm not using it.
Oh my goodness. I have not played my Switch docked at all.
Interesting.
But we'll see. But I guess I have to promote myself because I am on the podcast, and my podcast is on places I didn't even know it was. So if you are listening to this and you have no idea where this is coming from, I am the Hashtagonist, and you can find me on Twitter at the Hashtagonist, and you can also find me and even support me if you want on patreon.com/the Hashtagonist. And this was a good episode, guys. I enjoyed it, and despite you being there, Steven, it was still a good episode.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Hoeg was a true pleasure. I'll definitely have you on again. And you beat Brandon Jones on the show.
There you go. Yeah. See, you missed that because you weren't watching live. He actually called you out.
I know. I saw it on Twitter. I was like, what? And then I had to go in and like find the spot, and he was like giving me side eye, that bastard. So I invited him. He'll be on soon. I don't know when yet because E3 is kind of a thing. But that's it. If you're still listening to us ramble, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you had a good time, and if you have any angry Star Wars rage, then direct all at Hoeg, and I'll hope I'll catch you again next week.